Hello everyone, my name's Alex and this is the video about Officer Christopher Moss. Somebody asked me to do this video, so I thought I would put that out today. Officer Moss should have been an extremely quick testimony. However, Darrell Brooks manages to keep him on the stand for over an hour. So let's sit back, watch, and analyze the Darrell Brooks trial.
Thank you. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, when you get an opportunity, I forgot my water. Oh, right. And I assume you saw we have Sam. Yes. Hi, Sam. All right, I'm told first of all, we are back on the record. Appearances are as they were before. I'm told the jurors are done with lunch and available for us. So I presume the state's able to call its next witness.
Yes, we're ready, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, great. Then we'll have the jurors brought out. I will go tell them since I had Madam Clerk step off the bench for me. Hi, we're ready. Sorry, I have things that come out, so I'm telling you.
Record, was my ICF received?
I have not looked at my mail today. I can't tell you that.
Also, for the record, I'm appearing by special appearance on behalf of my client.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't hear you. Could you start that over? Oh, that's what happens when I send you on errands. All right. The audio is now on. I did call the case earlier. Just noted that the appearances are as they were before. The jury is on its way in. And I just will state, in case it wasn't clear, Mr. Brooks asked about an inmate communication form. I have not reviewed my mail today, so I can't tell you whether I've received anything, but I'll take a look, and at the next break, if need be, we can address that.
And I just wanted to state that I'm here. I'm here under special appearance on behalf of my client with all rights reserved.
All right, I'll rise for the jury, please. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Statement called its next witness.
Thank you, Judge. State calls Officer Christopher Moss.
All right, officer, if you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is on my right, upper riser. When you get there, please remain standing, raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's on my left, will swear you in. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
First name is Christopher, C-H-R-I-S-T-O-P-H-E-R. Last name is Moss, M-O-S-S.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How were you employed?
Currently employed with the City of Waukesha Police Department.
How long have you worked in law enforcement?
I've been a sworn law enforcement officer for 14 years.
All of your time was spent with the City of Waukesha Police Department?
No, ma'am.
Who else did you work for?
6.5 years was spent working for the City of Oconomowoc Police Department, and a year, or just over a year, was spent working part-time for the Village of North Prairie Police Department.
Were you working for the City of Waukesha on November 21 of 2021?
I was.
Do you recall participating in the Waukesha Christmas Parade that afternoon?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What was your role, please?
For that event, I was tasked with the City of Waukesha Police Department's Honor Guard unit. Specifically, I was part of the Color Guard, which is the group that leads the parade carrying the American flag and the state of Wisconsin flag.
And so you were there right at the beginning of the parade, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Do you remember about what time the parade kicked off?
Approximately 4 p.m.
Did you march the entire route of the parade?
I did.
Did you complete the parade
Yes, I did.
without incident?
Without incident.
And after you completed marching the parade with the color guard, did you go someplace?
Yes, upon completion of the parade route, as we were the first entity to finish since we led the parade, I subsequently returned to the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And why did you go back to the department?
That evening I was assigned to late power shift, which is from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m., and I was designated to work area 308.
Okay, so you marched in the parade with the color guard, then you were going to go work a full shift that evening.
That's correct.
As you were back at the police station, what do you recall happening?
As I was changing out of my honor guard uniform into my duty uniform, I heard multiple police sirens emanating from the downtown area. I subsequently checked our reporting system and observed that there was a call for service that officers were responding to an emergency fashion reference a subject with a knife.
And where was that response directed to? What location?
I believe that response was directed to the area of Frame Park in the City of Waukesha.
Did you do anything at that point?
I was still technically off duty, so I would continue to get dressed quickly in the event that they needed additional resources to that location.
And did you ever get called to that location, sir?
No, I was never called to that location.
What happened next?
As I continued to monitor my handheld radio while still getting dressed for duty, I heard via our primary channel fellow officers screaming hysterically on the radio, requesting people to respond to the downtown area and the parade route.
What did you do?
Got dressed as the fastest I've ever gotten dressed before, and subsequently sprinted out of the police department, entered a fleet, and responded in emergency fashion to the downtown area.
Specifically, where did you go?
I arrived in the area of Clinton and Main Street.
And can you briefly describe for us what you saw when you arrived at that intersection, sir?
Upon arrival, to describe it was just absolute chaos. As I exited my fleet, I looked east and westbound on Main Street. There were civilian subjects lying on the ground in every direction I looked, screaming, yelling, etc.
Did you attempt to render aid to these individuals?
I did. I ran in a westerly direction between Clinton and Maple, attempting to render aid to two elderly female subjects.
Did you, at some point, leave that duty and speak with Officer Skolton?
Yes, I did.
Where did you speak with Officer Skolton?
In the vicinity where I was, I ran into Officer Skolton, who approached me from a westerly direction. Upon making contact with him, he advised that he had fired rounds at a red Ford SUV, specifically an Escape. I asked him if he was okay. He stated that he was, and he subsequently said that we needed to find the vehicle.
And did you, in fact, set out to try and find this vehicle?
I did.
Prior to Officer Skolton telling you that, did you have any vehicle description?
I did not. The radio traffic was complete chaos with people screaming about injured participants of the parade being all over the downtown area.
So where did you go to look for the vehicle?
As I was moving my fleet near Donny Boy's Tavern on Main Street, I subsequently observed a male Hispanic running towards me, waving his hands frantically to garner my attention. And as I asked him what he needed, he subsequently stated he knew where the vehicle was.
Did you understand what he meant by that?
I clarified with him that he was speaking of the vehicle that was indeed involved in the incident in the downtown area, as well as the vehicle that Officer Skolton had fired rounds at. He confirmed this, and I subsequently told him to get into my squad car and began traveling with him.
Do you know the approximate time this was occurring?
The subject approached me at approximately 4:49 p.m.
And so you took the citizen with you in your squad?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did he direct you to a specific location?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Where did you travel?
From my location where I met up with this individual, we traveled westbound on Main Street and subsequently made a left-hand turn to travel southbound on Maple Street. We traveled approximately 2 blocks to the area where I subsequently located the vehicle in the driveway.
How did you know it was the vehicle you were looking for?
Based off what Officer Skolten had previously described to me as a red Ford Escape, I observed a heavily damaged red Ford Escape in the driveway of 338 Maple. This particular vehicle was heavily damaged in the front end. I also observed that there was clothing embedded in the hood, as well as a headband with blue lighting hanging from the side mirror. Additionally, I observed a bullet hole in the windshield on the passenger side.
Did you secure this scene?
I did.
What did you do?
As I exited my fleet, I drew my firearm to clear the vehicle to ensure that it was clear of persons that could potentially harm me based on the information that I had garnered up to this point. And after that was done and rendered clear, additional resources that came to my location, we secured it by taping off the entirety of this particular residence as well as the street.
When you cleared the vehicle, were there any subjects present inside the vehicle?
There were not.
After you had secured the scene, did you have an opportunity to take photographs of the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what device did you use to capture these photographs?
So each of our City of Waukesha police squads are assigned a cell phone. I believe this one in particular was an iPhone. We utilize that to capture photographic evidence as well. So I utilized the cell phone from the squad.
All right, I'm going to ask that exhibit number 99 be put up for the witness, please.
Go ahead.
Sir, do you see exhibit 99 on your screen? If not, it'll be up in a minute or so. Just let me know, please.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Do you recognize that photograph, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you recognize the photograph to depict?
It depicts a heavily damaged Ford Escape in the driveway.
And where is this location?
338 Maple in the City of Waukesha.
Is this a photograph you took
Yes, ma'am, I took this photograph.
using your iPhone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Move to admit permission to publish, Your Honor.
Objection.
Exhibit 99 is received. Permission to publish is granted. The objections overruled.
Sir, is this what the vehicle looked like when you first observed it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had testified earlier that you were able to see some articles of clothing on the vehicle. Do you see those items in this photograph?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Could you please point them out? And that's a touch screen in front of you so you can mark it with a dot or an arrow or whatever you choose.
So here on the hood, near the windshield, was a hat, and then clearly seen hanging from the driver's side mirror is a headband that's partially illuminated.
What do you mean illuminated?
This particular headband had multiple, appeared to be blue LED lighting.
Okay. The front of the vehicle, it appears to me that the front bumper is laying on the ground. Is that accurate, sir?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am, that's accurate.
May we take the annotations down?
Yeah, we can deal with that. Thank you, Judge. So to your knowledge, no one had touched or disturbed this vehicle, at least since the time you were present, before you photographed it?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. You may answer.
To my knowledge, no, there was no manipulation of this vehicle prior to my arrival.
Okay. And at some point, did you look inside the vehicle? And I don't mean just to clear it of persons, I mean take a closer look inside the car.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what was your purpose in doing that, sir?
Due to the nature of what was happening and the exigency of trying to identify who may have been inside the vehicle, I did locate documentation of identifying in nature.
And do you remember the name on that paperwork?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What was the name on the paperwork inside the vehicle?
The name on the paperwork inside the vehicle was one Darrell Edward Brooks, Jr., male black, date of birth 2/21 of 1982. And
in fact, was there more than one piece of paper inside the vehicle containing that same personal identifying information?
Objection, speculative.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
Yes, ma'am, there's more than one item.
I don't see a front license plate in this photograph. Do you, sir?
No, ma'am.
Where's the license plate?
May I draw?
Yes.
It was determined later that this is actually the license plate
Okay.
on the front.
Not from the photograph, but from your recollection, was the rear license plate clearly visible?
Objection, leading.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
Yes, ma'am, the rear license plate was clearly visible on the vehicle.
Did you attempt to run the license plate for this vehicle?
Yes, I did via police radio.
What information did you learn about the registration of this vehicle?
The vehicle displayed a Wisconsin registration plate of A. Adam D. David P. Paul 9256, which listed to a Don L. Woods out of the city of Milwaukee.
Do you remember the approximate location of the street where Don Woods lived?
Objection, hearsay,
Um,
relevant.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
No, I do not recall that information.
You just remember City of Milwaukee?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. And the vehicle was registered to Don Woods solely?
Objection, leading. Relevancy of who's it related to.
The objections are noted. I'll sustain as to the form of the question and ask Attorney Upper to rephrase.
Was the registration only in one person's name?
From what I understand, it was.
Okay. Do you know the relationship between Don Woods and Darrell Brooks?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
No, ma'am, I do not know the relationship.
At a later point, as you were, well, strike that. Let me ask this. Did you remain with this vehicle for some time?
Yes, for some time.
And were other resources, law enforcement and other resources called to the area to deal with this vehicle, sir?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
And as that was occurring, are you aware of other police activity that was occurring nearby?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And what was that, please?
I had heard via police radio Officer Luling advised that he was out with a subject in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street, which is just a couple blocks away.
And did you hear Officer Luling indicate a name for the subject that he was out with?
Yes, I did.
And what was that name?
Officer Luling aired over police radio that he was out with a male subject identifying himself as Darrell Brooks.
All right, sir, thank you. I don't have any other questions. We can take down 99. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one other question about 99. I apologize, Your Honor.
Objection.
Overruled, she may answer. She may ask.
Do you know what time you snapped that photograph of Exhibit 99?
Yes, ma'am, I took that photograph on the date in question at 5:01 p.m.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. You're cross, Mr. Brooks.
You stated that you were flagged down by a Hispanic male running at you waving his hands. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct.
Do you recall his name?
I do.
And would you state it for the jury and for the record?
His name is Abel Liscano.
And do you recall if Mr. Liscano gave you any additional information during your traveling to where the vehicle was located?
I don't understand your question.
You stated that Mr. Liscano got into your vehicle and you traveled to where the vehicle was located. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Did you learn any additional information from Mr. Liscano? How do you say it, Liscano?
Liscano.
Liscano. Did you learn during your travel to where the vehicle was located? Did you learn any additional information from Mr. Liscano?
Not while we were traveling to the vehicle.
So you traveled to the vehicle in complete silence?
No, he was trying to direct me with the location of the red Ford Escape.
Did he say he saw anyone driving the vehicle?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustain.
So all he told you was where the vehicle was. He didn't tell you if he saw anyone driving it?
Objection, hearsay.
Grounds.
The witness may answer the question as long as he does not answer with hearsay. Go ahead, overrule.
Can you restate your question, please?
So all that the Mr. Lascano, all that he told you was the location of the vehicle, not if he saw anyone driving?
I object. That question calls for hearsay response, Your Honor.
I would agree hearing that again. Sustained.
Did he at all tell you that he saw someone in the vehicle?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
It's hearsay. To ask him what Mr. Lascano told him would be hearsay.
So all Mr. Lascano did was just direct you to the vehicle?
That's correct.
That's all you guys talked about during your trip to the vehicle?
Objection, asked and answered.
Grounds.
Sustained. It was asked, and I previously sustained the objection. So, next question, please.
When you were able to locate the vehicle, where did Mr. Lascano go?
Once the vehicle was located, I had Mr. Lascano stand by in my fleet until other officers arrived to assist me, and then I transferred him over to someone else.
Do you know if he made any report at that time?
Define report.
Did he make any report to law enforcement at that time?
I'm not sure if he did or not.
Do you recall Mr. Lascano yelling that there were subjects standing outside of the building where
Objection, Your Honor.
the vehicle
I'm going
was?
to excuse the jury while I take up a legal issue. All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. Be seated. Mr. Brooks, before I have you question this witness any further, it sounds like to me that you are attempting to offer through this witness the statements made by Mr. Lascano. If that is what you are trying to do, you may not do that. You will have to call Mr. Lascano as a witness if you so choose, if he's on your witness list. But that your questions are seeking to elicit hearsay from this witness. That's why I had the jury removed so I could explain my ruling and why I'm going to direct you not to ask this witness questions about what Mr. Lascano may or may not have said.
I'm reading directly from his report.
That would be double hearsay then, because it's not you need Mr. Lascano here to say what he told this officer. If you are attempting to offer it for the truth of the matter asserted, which is what I believe you are doing, you're attempting to establish the veracity of something Mr. Lascano either said or didn't say through another witness. That is hearsay.
So it's not hearsay for the prosecutor to bring up.
I'm not going to talk about other rulings. There's been an objection by the state, and I'm sustaining the objection, and I'm directing you not to ask this witness questions that would call for this witness to say what Mr. Lascano said. That is hearsay. That is textbook hearsay, Mr. Brooks.
And then I don't think it's fair for me to object to hearsay from the prosecution about along the lines of the same type of thing.
I'm not going to have a debate on what may have come in previously. I know you've made a number of hearsay objections, many of which the answers that were being provided were not hearsay. But I would direct your attention to 908.01 of the Wisconsin statutes. You have that book in front of you that I provided to you a number of days ago at the beginning of this trial or near the beginning of this trial. There's the definitional section of the statutes, which defines hearsay. It also, and then if you go on to
I don't need to read it. I know what hearsay is.
908.02, that's obviously one you may want to look at as well. And
don't
then
need to look at it. I know what it
908.03
is.
has the exception. So unless you can
Clearly.
give me an exception, sir, as to why this witness should be allowed to answer those questions, I'm gonna, again,
I'm
direct you
reading
not to ask
directly
these
from
questions.
his report, the report that he wrote. Nothing is coming from. I'm reading directly from his report. That's what I have in
Doesn't
front
change
of
the
me.
fact that it's hearsay.
You said what?
That doesn't change the fact that it's hearsay.
So
it actually
his report
creates
is
another
hearsay?
level of hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement.
So
Not
his-
this witness made, but what another witness made. So you have to,
So I can't read from his report that he wrote.
you can't ask this witness questions that call for a hearsay answer unless there's no objection from the state. Or you can convince me there's an exception to the hearsay rule that applies. Do you have an exception you'd like to offer to the court?
So I might as well not read the report that he wrote then if I can't question him about the report that he wrote.
That's your misunderstanding, sir, what is hearsay. And all I can tell you is I'm sustaining the objection. I'm going to bring the jury back out, and we'll go from there. All right, Madam Clerk, bring the jury out, please.
Clear bias. Clear bias.
Mr. Brooks, I understand
I
you
don't-
may
I don't
disagree
consent to
with
or agree to
the...
being called that name. For the record, again, I'm here as a third-party intervener on behalf of my client. I don't know why that's not understood by now. So I guess I can't bring up the plaintiff either, huh? Tacit agreement.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Continue with your questions, sir.
I gotta tread lightly.
The jury will disregard that last comment
I don't know why.
and that one as well.
Bias.
It's not your opportunity to testify. You'll be given an
I'm not
opportunity
testifying.
should you choose
I'm
later,
not
sir, but
testifying.
please question the witness.
If
Thank
I
you.
could ever get to it, I'll do that.
And again, the jury will disregard that statement. It's not evidence.
You made reference to a hat being on the hood. Can you pull Exhibit 99 up again?
Are you asking the state to do that, sir?
Yeah, can it please be pulled up and
Sure.
published?
It can, and it will. The jury can let me know when it's on the screens in the jury box, please. All right, it's in the jury box. Continue, please.
You testified to this being the hat, right?
That's correct.
And from this picture, can you tell what that is?
Not specifically.
So how do we know if that's a hat from looking at this picture?
From looking at this picture, it would be difficult to determine if that's actually a hat.
So it'd be fair to say you don't know what that is
Based on this picture, you're
based
right.
on this picture.
Based on this picture, I'm not able to determine what that item is.
Would it be also fair to say we can't even determine if that's outside or inside of the vehicle at that point?
I would disagree and say that is on the exterior of the vehicle,
And how
between
would
the
you make
hood.
that assumption if you can't tell what it is?
Objection, argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Can you clear that?
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You can definitively say from this picture that you can tell where the item is based on this picture.
Yes.
Are you going off what you found or what you can see from the picture?
I can see from this picture that that item is on the exterior of the vehicle between the hood that is destroyed and the windshield.
So it's on the hood?
It is between the hood and the windshield of the vehicle.
And you can tell that from this picture.
Objection as an answer.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Sustained as to both grounds.
And from this picture, you can tell what this is.
Yes.
Just from the picture.
Yes.
And how do you come to that determination?
Based on the fact that it's hanging on the exterior of the vehicle from the driver's side mirror, that it is in the shape of a headband and it is partially illuminated in this photograph with LED lighting.
It could be fair to say that it's anything. Would you not say that that's fair? Just from looking at the picture, it doesn't necessarily say, or it's not 100% identifiable from this picture. Would that be fair to say?
Objection, compound question.
Sustained as to the form of the question. Please rephrase.
Just from strictly looking at this picture, you can't positively say what the item is.
Objection. That's a mischaracterization of his testimony.
Sustained. Please rephrase.
Clear the photo.
You're asking Madam Clerk to please
Clear the
clear it?
photo.
Mr. Brooks, I'd ask that you show some deference to my clerk and not bark orders at her and use simple courtesy. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Clerk.
Will I be awarded the same, Your Honor?
Please ask your next question,
Will I
sir.
be awarded the same, Your Honor?
Please ask your next question.
I will. I just want to know if I'll be awarded the
I have been.
same.
Thank you. Please continue.
Did you talk to anyone who lived in the residence?
I don't recall the specific persons I talked to or where they resided.
So it's fair to say you talked to someone.
There were multiple people outside of the residence and in the area at that time that I spoke briefly to.
But you don't know if any of them was the renter or owner of the driveway.
I do not recall.
Do you recall asking anyone if the vehicle belonged to somebody who may have stayed in that general area?
I do not recall asking that question to anyone.
You did state that you cleared the area. Would that be fair to say?
No, I stated I cleared the vehicle, not the area.
Did you clear the area?
Eventually, we did clear the back portion of the residence to ensure there were no suspects or victims.
Who is we?
Persons of law enforcement.
And did you wait until law enforcement came before you started to do that? Or did you start on your own kind of way?
Upon arrival to the location of the suspect vehicle, I was by myself, so I initially cleared the vehicle to ensure that there were no potential threats to myself. When I advised dispatch that I had located the suspect vehicle, numerous officers came to assist me and were there relatively quickly to help me secure the area.
So would it be fair to say when you found the vehicle that you didn't locate anyone inside the vehicle?
Correct. No one was located inside the vehicle at that time.
And you also stated that you cleared the vehicle for possible threats to yourself. If no one was in the vehicle, what did you need to clear the vehicle of? What would be the threat?
Based on, again, as I earlier stated, what had occurred in the downtown, plus the fact that Officer Skolin had fired rounds at this vehicle, I was unsure who or what may be inside the vehicle. Given the time of day, as it was becoming dusk, it was getting harder to see outside. So to ensure my own safety, I cleared it the way I earlier stated.
So would it be fair to say that, well, let me back up. You took this photo, correct?
That is correct.
So that would mean you were, at least by that time, sure that no one was in the vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
That is correct.
So did you clear the vehicle before taking the picture or afterward?
I cleared the vehicle before I took the photograph.
Did you find any threats in there?
After I initially cleared it, no. It was deemed to not be a threat to my person.
Did you do any other investigating after you had took this photo?
Can you rephrase the question?
Did you do any other investigating after you took this photo?
After the photographs were collected of the vehicle in place from multiple angles, I did locate identifying information inside the vehicle.
What I'm asking is, so let me back up. So that was the extent of your investigation, was finding whatever you found in the vehicle at that point.
Correct.
Grounds.
His
I'll
answer
withdraw.
was- Thank you.
Correct.
So when you were clearing the vehicle, would it be fair to say that you could have done the same investigational work at that time?
No, that would not be fair to say.
And why not?
Because when you're clearing a vehicle to ensure that there are no threats to you, you're not looking for anything specific as far as evidentiary value. You're looking for a threat to your person.
So you would clear the vehicle of threats after being in the vehicle to do that, and then go back into the vehicle and look for, or start investigating rather.
Correct.
Why not do them all at once? Is that a procedural thing or
Asked and answered, Your Honor. I object.
grounds?
Sustained. Next question.
Is it usually procedure to investigate later on after clearing for threats?
Yes, you always want to ensure that where you're working on an investigation is clear of threats and that you are safe.
Would that be the same protocol if you were searching a home?
Objection. Relevance.
Grounds?
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
Relevance.
And you may mention that the vehicle wasn't, I guess I would say, touched or between the time that you were flagged down with the location of the vehicle until you actually observed the vehicle, you stated that you don't believe the vehicle was touched in any way in that time?
Objection. That's a misstatement of his testimony. Your Honor.
Grounds? You said something similar to that.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Are you sure that the vehicle was not touched in the time that you were flagged down about the location of the possible vehicle and observing the vehicle?
I am unaware if the vehicle was manipulated in any fashion from the time that Mr. Lascano flagged me down and to the time that I located the vehicle in the driveway.
Do you know approximately how long it took you to get to the vehicle when you were initially flagged down about the location of the vehicle?
I do not know how long it took me to get to the vehicle upon being flagged down.
So it's possible that it could have been manipulated.
Yes, it's possible.
At the time that you located the vehicle, were you aware of any suspect identification or name?
Can you restate your question, please?
At the time you located the vehicle, were you aware of any suspect or name of suspect?
No, I was unaware of any names of any suspect involved in the incident at the time I located the vehicle.
And when did you learn of that information, if you learned of that information?
I only learned the information of a possible suspect upon locating the identifying documents inside the vehicle and subsequently providing that information to dispatch.
At the time you found that information, did you immediately regard that information to be the possible suspect?
Yes, since it was in the vehicle that was heavily damaged, the red Ford Escape with the bullet hole in the windshield, yes, I believe that that information indeed belonged to a suspect.
And at some point you ran the license plates number. Would that be fair to say?
Correct, I did.
And you also stated that it was registered to someone that was not the suspect. Would that be fair to say?
As far as I know at that, or I'm sorry, as far as I knew at that time, I did not know if the person registered the vehicle to was a suspect or not.
You also stated that you found identifying paperwork in your investigation of the vehicle. Did that information match the identity of who the vehicle was registered to?
No, the identifying information, again, for Mr. Brooks that was inside the vehicle did not match the registration on file with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the registration of the vehicle, which was Don L. Woods.
For the record, I don't identify by that name. Yet again, stating that for the record.
For the record, the jury will disregard that commentary by the defendant, and it also mischaracterizes the witness's testimony.
It does not. I was just stating for the record.
Again, the jury will disregard that
So-
commentary as Mr. Brooks is not presently testifying.
The information you found in the car, the vehicle was not registered to that person, correct?
That's correct.
So there's a possibility that at any time, multiple people can utilize that vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
Objection, speculation.
Grounds.
Calls for speculation. Sustained.
Would you agree that a vehicle registered to one person and information found by another person constitutes that more than one person used the vehicle?
Objection.
Grounds.
Go ahead.
The question was, does that prove that more than one person could drive the car? That's an improper question.
That wasn't the question.
Well, sustained as to the form of the question and assumes facts, not in evidence.
State that last part again.
It assumes facts, not in evidence, your question. Your next question, please.
Is it fair to say that people leave all types of information in family members' vehicles at any time?
Objection.
Grounds.
Irrelevant speculation.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
Ask your next question, Mr. Brooks, please.
May I have the grounds, please?
The objection has been sustained. Ask your next question, please.
May I have the grounds?
The court's not answering that. The record is self-evident.
Is that a tacit agreement?
Here's what I found.
Sir, I don't know what a tacit agreement is, so please keep going.
Clearly know what it is. Would it be fair to say, and this is along the lines of the same question, would it be fair to say that at some point you've left items in other people's vehicles?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
Next question, please, sir. I've sustained this question multiple times, multiple
wasn't
ways
the
you've
same
asked it.
question.
Next question, please.
May I have the grounds?
90611, sir.
May I have the grounds?
Next question, please.
Is it to relevancy? Is it to hearsay?
Under 90611, ask your next question or I will cut off your cross-examination. Please ask your next question,
You
sir.
have to give the grounds, though, Your Honor. Especially if I'm merely just asking for the grounds of the sustain.
Sir, ask your next question.
What's the point of me asking questions if I can't ask anything?
The jury will disregard his commentary
Can't
that he
even
just
ask
stated right now.
Do you recall speaking to, well, you said you spoke to a few people. You didn't know if they were the owner of the house or the driveway or the renter. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, that's correct.
Did anyone you spoke to give you a description of a possible driver?
I was given multiple descriptions by multiple parties of multiple suspects that had fled the vicinity of the vehicle.
And what do you mean by multiple descriptions of multiple suspects? 2, 3, 4 people, 5?
I was given information that one male black suspect that was taller, wearing blue pants and black, had run southbound on Maple towards College. Additionally, I was given information that two shorter male blacks wearing gray sweatpants had run in a westerly direction from behind the residence at 338 Maple. And then later I was also given another description of a male black, unknown height, wearing like a gray sweatshirt and pants.
You said medium height for the last description?
Unknown height.
Unknown. Okay, I'm sorry. Unknown height. Did anyone you talked to report the sound of a crash?
No, no one I spoke to at this location reported anything regarding the sound of a crash.
Did you see any signs that there may have been a crash once you and other officers were securing the area?
As far as the vicinity around the vehicle or the vehicle itself?
The general area.
As far as the general area, given the time of day, I was unable to determine if there was any signs of a crash in that vicinity.
When talking to the people that you, while talking to the people that gave you the descriptions, did they identify themselves as living close or living in any of the houses in that area?
No, due to the chaotic nature of the event, I did not ascertain where these individuals lived or if they were associated with any neighboring residents.
Do you know if they made any other statements to any other law enforcement that was there present with you at that time?
Not to my knowledge.
Why do you think you received so many different descriptions of suspects?
Multiple people from multiple angles observed different things, and there was a lot of people there. It was a very chaotic event. Even this particular scene was chaotic and hectic with numerous people coming to and from, so it was difficult to determine that information.
Did any of the people that you spoke with give any reason to why the suspects that they identified would run from the scene?
Objection. Speculation
Grounds.
also calls for hearsay.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds.
Next question, sir.
Do you recall any of the officers that were securing the scene with you having a K-9 present?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall what officer that was?
That was Officer Bausman, who was a K-9 handler with the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And eventually you left the scene where the vehicle was found and started searching the area?
Yes, I transferred command of that location to Officer Buttrin, had him remain at that scene for scene security with additional City of Brookfield officer, and then myself, K-9 Officer Bausman, and numerous other police officers from various departments conducted an area search as we were conducting a K-9 track. Based on the information I had obtained of multiple suspects running from the area.
And do you recall what time you went back to where you initially observed the vehicle?
I do not recall what time I made it back, but it was some hours later.
And did you go back to your department after leaving from the scene where you found the vehicle?
Yes, I was directed by my command staff to return to the police department as the scene was still secured by other law enforcement officers of various agencies.
And were you instructed to make contact with anyone at that point?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall who?
I do.
May you state for the jury and for the record?
Yes, upon arrival to the police department, I was directed to make contact with District Attorney Sue Opper.
And when you say Sue Opper, are you referring to District Attorney Sue Opper?
Yes, that's what I said.
Is she here in court today?
Yes, she is.
Can you point her out for the jury?
She's seated at the prosecution table wearing the gray cardigan.
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified Attorney Opper.
No objection, Your Honor.
The record will so reflect.
And do you recall what the nature of the contact was with Attorney Opper?
Yes, I was directed to locate Attorney Opper in the downtown area at the scene of the parade incident and subsequently transport her back to the City of Waukesha Police Department.
So I'm assuming make contact with her at the parade, so you went and picked her up?
That's correct. I picked her up in the area of Maple in Wisconsin. Correction, I'm sorry. The area of Maple and Main Street.
And did you continue that contact after picking her up? And let me back up. Where did you go after picking up Attorney Opera?
As I stated, once I picked her up, I transported her back to the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And did you continue to have contact at that point?
I did.
And what was the nature of that contact?
District Attorney Opper and I worked together to draft a search warrant for the 2010 red Ford Escape SUV that was in the driveway of 338 Maple Street.
You said a search warrant?
Correct.
Initially, when you secured the vehicle and then investigated the vehicle after securing it, what did you need to search for at that point that you needed a search warrant?
After I cleared the vehicle and located those items of identifying nature, that was done due to the exigency of the event and identifying any outstanding suspects. After that was done and photographed in place, I resecured the vehicle and it was no longer touched at that point. So therefore, later on, it was required to have a search warrant to continue processing that vehicle for items of evidentiary value.
So you just stated that the vehicle wasn't touched between those times. So what if anything new, did you need to search for?
Objection, argumentative.
Wow.
Overruled. He may answer.
The basis of the search warrant was to ensure that, again, any items of evidentiary value I may have overlooked due to, again, the exigency of trying to find identifying information of an outstanding suspect, as well as clearing the vehicle for safety reasons. That is the purpose of the search warrant, is to do a more slow, methodical search of the vehicle for said items of evidentiary value.
But it would be fair to say that after initially clearing the vehicle, for, as you said, for any possible threats to you, and investigating the vehicle further a second time, what did you feel would be of evidentiary value at that point that you hadn't already observed before?
Objection, asked and answered.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Grounds. I'm referring to him stating the evidentiary value.
Asked and answered. Sustained.
So what was the evidentiary value that you were looking for
Same objection.
with the search warrant?
It's the same question a different way, so I'm going to sustain it. It's been asked, it's been answered. Next question, please.
Can you give an example of what evidentiary value is?
Something of evidentiary value can really be anything that's pertinent to the case. An example would be like a shell casing or a spot of blood that can render DNA results, things of that nature.
Did you find any of those things when obtaining the search warrant?
Objection.
Grounds.
Well, that's factually inaccurate, Your Honor.
It assumes a fact, not an evidence. I'll sustain the objection as to the form of the question.
Did you find, upon obtaining the search warrant, were you able to find anything of evidentiary value?
Same objection. Assumes a
Grounds.
fact, not an evidence, Your Honor.
Sustained. It assumes facts, not an evidence. Please rephrase and establish a foundation related to whether this witness performed that subsequent search.
After obtaining the search warrant, did you yourself go back and search the vehicle?
No.
Do you recall what officer was dispatched to do to execute the search warrant?
No, I do not know who ultimately searched the vehicle for items of evidentiary value.
Do you recall if the vehicle was then towed from that area at some point?
Yes, the vehicle was removed at some point. I do not know when or by whom.
Do you recall where it was moved to?
I do not know where the vehicle was moved to.
You stated earlier that you did observe a gunshot in the windshield. Did you notice any other bullet marks?
No, the only mark that I observed related to a gunshot was the bullet hole in the windshield on the passenger side.
And was that, you said on the passenger side, was it to the passenger side window, the passenger side chair, the passenger side dash? Do you recall where the bullet hole was?
As I previously stated, it was in the windshield, front windshield, on the passenger side.
Were you at any time given a copy of the search warrant?
Yes, upon completion of the search warrant, I was given a copy. The original went over to the command center.
Is it standard protocol that, being that you were the one that obtained the search warrant, is it usually a thing where you don't have to be the one to execute it? Any other officer can execute it?
Based on the requirement of the search warrant to process this vehicle for items of evidentiary value, that's beyond the scope of my training and experience. So therefore, it was relayed to persons that are capable of actually doing that.
But you can, you said it's beyond your level or something. I didn't catch where you said it was beyond your level or something.
It's beyond my scope of training and experience.
Beyond your scope of training. The actual writing of the search warrant isn't above your scope and training. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct.
But the execution is.
Of this particular search warrant, yes.
What made this particular search warrant different than any ones you've ever written or obtained before?
This particular search warrant was for a search of the vehicle involved in the Christmas parade incident. And given the gravity of the situation and the resulting effects of what this vehicle was used for, persons that are highly skilled in collecting items of evidentiary value are obviously the people we want to do that rather than a patrol officer.
And you were able to get that search warrant signed, correct?
That's correct.
Do you remember by whom?
Yes.
Can you state for the record and for the jury?
At that time of the search warrant, the on-call judge was contacted, and the on-call judge was the Honorable Jennifer Duro.
That would be the judge right now in the courtroom.
Yes, that's correct.
Did that complete your part of the investigation for that incident at that time?
Yes, upon getting the search warrant, I was relieved of my duties.
Did you ever come back into the investigation in any way after that point?
After that point, no.
After your part of the investigation ended, were you able to obtain any more information that you didn't know the night of your investigation?
Objection, vague, cause for speculation.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor.
Please ask your next question.
Do you recall having any more contact with Attorney Opper after that initial night?
No.
When were you aware that it was a possibility that you could be called to testify in this matter?
When I received a subpoena to testify in this matter.
Excuse me, I didn't hear.
When I received a subpoena to testify in this matter.
Was that subpoena served to you by the district attorney's office?
Yes, it was.
Was it served by Attorney Opper?
I don't recall who served me directly. I believe it was via electronic.
Do you recall when you received that subpoena?
I don't recall the exact date, but it was a few months ago.
So it's pretty recent, but a little time since you received it.
Yes, that's fair to say.
Would you by chance know who the plaintiff is in this matter? Grounds.
Relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Ever seen or talked to the plaintiff? Had any physical interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, vague and compound
Grounds.
question.
Sustained.
You even know if there's a plaintiff in this matter?
Objection,
Grounds.
irrelevant.
Sustained.
You know who filed the complaint in this matter?
The complaint was filed by the district attorney's office.
Do you know if it was filed by Attorney Opper?
I don't know particularly who filed the complaint. I just know it was by the Waukesha County District Attorney's Office.
And during your time in law enforcement, would it be fair to say that whoever files the complaint is a party to the matter?
Objection,
Grounds.
beyond the scope of the witness's knowledge,
Grounds.
Your Honor.
Sustained. Next question. please.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor?
Next question, please.
Any reason why the state of Wisconsin would be identified as the plaintiff when they did not file the complaint?
Objection, argumentative, misstatement of the law.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor.
Ask your next question, please.
Was that the grounds?
Next question, please.
The jury deserves to know this.
The jury will disregard that last statement.
They need to know.
I've sustained the objection, sir. Ask your next question, please.
I'm aware that it was a sustain. I'm aware. I just wanted to know the grounds. You can't keep hiding stuff from the jury.
Mr. Brooks, the court is not hiding anything from anyone, and the jury will disregard that last statement. It is not evidence in any way in this case.
Would it be fair to say that any case has a plaintiff?
Objection.
Grounds.
Lack of foundation beyond the scope of the witness's knowledge.
Sustained.
Would it be? Can I rephrase the question?
Go ahead. I can't say whether it will be answered or not, but you can go ahead
But
and rephrase it.
I can't rephrase, just so we're clear. Whether it's answered or not, I can still rephrase the question.
I don't know what the question will be, sir, so I can't make a ruling that's advisory. So ask your next question, please.
Are you aware that in any case brought into a courtroom, there has to be a plaintiff?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same question.
Grounds is not
It also
the same
misstates
question.
the law, so sustained.
If there's no plaintiff, how's their case?
Move to strike.
The jury will disregard the last comment and statement made by Mr. Brooks.
Grounds. There's a
It's a
defendant, there has to be a
misstatement of the
plaintiff.
law. It's not relevant. This jury will be the judge of the facts. The court is the judge of the law. Please continue, sir, or under 906.11, I will stop the cross-examination.
If there's a defendant, there has to be a plaintiff.
Mr. Brooks, please stop. The jury will also disregard that statement. It's a mischaracterization of the law. It's a misstatement of the law.
Based on what law or fact, Your Honor?
And I'll address that with Mr. Brooks once again after the jury has been excused. One final time, you may ask another question. Otherwise, I will, and it must not be along the same lines, or under 906.11, I will ask the state whether there's any redirect.
Do you know of anyone who filed a claim in this matter?
Objection,
Grounds?
irrelevant.
Grounds?
It's also vague, so I'll sustain it.
So the grounds is vagueness?
And relevance.
Is it vague or is it relevant?
Sustained, Mr. Brooks. Next question.
So since your initial night of investigation, you've done no investigation since then in this matter?
Correct.
And have you seen any news reports?
Objection, relevance.
Can I finish the question?
There's been no identification, so under 906.11, meaning of, I'm going to sustain the objection without hearing the rest of the question. I don't see how it would have any relevance. I'll let you make an offer of proof after we're outside the presence of the jury, and if necessary, you can recall this witness. Next question.
In that case, then, since that is stated on the record, no further questions. I would like to finish at some point.
Sir, finish your cross-exam as to
Just
that
said
limited.
no further questions.
Okay, but as to that limited topic only. So if there are other things outside that topic, please finish your questioning.
I just said 2 times. I'm going to say it again. No further questions.
All right, thank you then, sir. State have any redirect?
No, nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. You may be excused. I'm going to excuse the jury momentarily to take up a legal issue with the parties, and hopefully we'll have you brought back out shortly. You can use this opportunity for a comfort break, though. You may make an offer of proof, sir, as it relates to why or what questions and what information you believe this officer would provide about news reports that he has seen.
So the offer of proof would just be to that one question?
What would the question be?
The question was, would have been, if I was allowed to finish it, had he seen any news reports directly connected to the incident?
But what's the relevance?
The same thing that many other witnesses have been asked, and it was never sustained then. It was never even objected to. So it was the same. It was essentially
Let's focus
one
on
of the same
the
questions.
specific objection that was posed, and my
And what was the grounds for
willingness
it?
to give you an opportunity to provide the court with an offer of proof. This was what relevance would this particular witness seeing news reports have to his testimony?
The same thing that any other witness that was asked the same question.
Which would be what? You have to be specific, sir.
I was specific.
I'm not gonna assume I understand what you are saying.
Have they saw any reports related to the incident? That's the same question that's been asked by numerous
Well, there would
witnesses.
be a follow-up to that. So how is it relevant to this witness's testimony?
It's relevant to anyone who gets on the stand's testimony.
What's the legal basis you believe it's relevant to his testimony, sir?
it obviously forms an opinion.
Again, I'm not, you need to explain to me, sir, the legal basis why you believe I should allow that witness to be asked that question and then any follow-up based on his response.
What would have been the follow-up?
I'm asking you, sir,
asked and it would
you're
have got
the
answered.
one who's the proponent of this particular testimony and this questioning and the evidence. So explain to me your legal basis for why you believe it's relevant to ask, or any other reason, any legal basis you believe it's that I should allow that question to be asked.
I don't understand how you want me to answer that. I've stated the reason why I asked the question.
No, you stated it's obvious, but it's not obvious to me, so I'm asking you to explain it.
I also stated that I just clearly stated that it goes towards biasness.
I'm
that
sorry,
would
it goes
be
to
relevant.
what? Wait, it goes to what?
Biased.
Bias?
Biased.
No, bias. B-I-A-S. Not, there's no T at the end. Bias. I want to make sure I understand your
now it's a
reasoning
problem with
correctly,
how I
sir.
correct
So
something.
it's,
How to
you're
pronounce
saying it
something.
goes to bias. How does it go to bias of this witness, sir?
How would it not go to if you see something in the news?
It's not a proper legal argument, sir.
Okay, well, I don't know how you want me to answer
How
that.
would what he saw subsequent to his investigation impact either what he did beforehand or his testimony here? You have to make an offer of proof as to that. Without that, I'm not going to allow it.
You didn't allow it anyway, so what do it matter at this point?
I'm giving you the opportunity. It's called an offer of proof.
Okay,
I said
know
I
what-
would recall the
I'm well
witness
aware-
if I
I'm well aware
determine.
what an offer of proof is.
Okay,
I'm well aware.
so make your offer of proof.
I don't need to. It's clear. It's very clear. I don't see anything funny either.
It's not funny, sir. It's a circular argument. You're telling me that
referring
it's
to you.
clear.
I wasn't referring that to you. The person that it was referred to know who they are.
Well, let's stay on task, please. So
I'm trying to.
you're
but it's
claiming
hard.
it goes to bias,
May I
but
say
in
this?
what
May
way?
I say this for the record, Your Honor? It's hard to stay on task when it seems like the prosecution can ask essentially anything they want to ask.
Mr. Brooks,
But then when I object-
I had
Wait,
an
wait.
objection before. Well, here's the thing: you want to go off target, and you want
It's
to
not
bring
off
up
target.
things from the past. I can't explain to you why sometimes the state has an objection and other times they don't. But
That's not what I asked.
when an objection has been made, it is my obligation to rule on it. And so there was an objection.
I'm aware of that, Your Honor. But I'm also aware of the fact, and it's clear that I object quite often, and every single time I object is just thrown to the side every single time.
Well, I would disagree with that characterization, sir.
And why
I
would
make
you
my
disagree with
rulings
that?
in this
Why would
case
you disagree
based.
with that?
I'm like
Can
an
you point out
umpire.
one time?
I'm like an umpire in a baseball game, sir. I call and see the legal objections as I see them. That is my role, and that is what I do. And
Are you kidding me?
that's exactly
Your
what I
Honor.
do. I'm an umpire, sir.
Your Honor.
I am a referee in this trial.
If you're the
And
umpire
let me
with
finish.
Okay.
Let me finish,
Okay.
Mr. Brooks.
I
Okay?
apologize. I'm letting
So-
you finish.
Sometimes parties make objections, sometimes they don't. There can be a variety of reasons. You make a lot of objections in this case. From my perspective, okay, you make a number of objections, I rule on them, and you disagree with them. But that doesn't mean I'm casting things aside. I'm making a call based on the rules of evidence. So, for example, if there's a relevance objection, I'm going to analyze that, okay, based on the objection that's been made. Sometimes I might think there's another basis for something to either come in or not come in. But my rule book, okay, is the rules of evidence, which are the statutes, which once again, I'll point out, I gave you, sir, near the beginning of this trial, so that you would have a better understanding of what those rules are. If you choose not to read them, that's fine. But you cannot then claim that there is somehow foul play because you haven't read them and you don't understand what they are. Your ignorance of the law is not a defense for any of this. Okay, and you getting frustrated with me because you don't understand that, I mean, it's just what it is. But I'm calling these legal shots as I see them. And I've asked you repeatedly for an offer of proof. You want to ask this witness who had limited involvement regarding a part of an investigation related to that vehicle. I don't see the relevance, even to bias, for which I will allow him to answer that. You haven't given me a legal or factual reason to overrule the objection and to bring the witness back on the stand and to question him about his viewing of any news reports. So with that, we are going to take a very short break. The jury's been out for a little bit, but I recognize it's 3:25. It will be a good opportunity for a comfort break, and when we come back on, the state should be prepared to call the next witness.
Can I release at least rebuttal to what you just said, since you asked me not to?
I don't need a rebuttal, sir. You may not agree with me, but I've made
It's not about agreeing.
record.
You just told me not to interrupt you, and I didn't. So I at least deserve the chance to put on the record a rebuttal.
What would you like to put on the record as it relates to the specific issue for which I was giving you the opportunity to be heard? Not anything else, not subject matter jurisdiction, not
Now you
whether
said
the
that.
state's doing
I didn't
other
even bring
things.
that up,
I'm
Your Honor.
only asking you to address the offer of proof.
No,
if
I
you
wanna-
have something, go ahead. But
I wanna-
only as it relates
I
to
want to
that.
address your position because you said you're like the umpire, right?
Well, I'm not getting. Okay, go ahead, sir. I'm not sure why you need to respond to
Because-
that.
Because it needs to be on the record. If you're the umpire, that means you're the referee.
That's what I'm doing here
when,
today, sir.
And when you're not reffing fair if the jury's not allowed to hear things that's important for them to know.
I respectfully disagree, sir. Again, just because you believe the law means you have a right to question all these witnesses about who the plaintiff is and about subject matter jurisdiction doesn't
I didn't question
make it
anybody
so.
about that.
Okay?
That was,
it doesn't
that was
make
between
it
you
so.
and I. That didn't have nothing to do with a witness. I've
You
never
want to
once
question
questioned a
these
witness
witnesses,
about subject
sir,
matter
about
jurisdiction.
whether they are aware of complaints. And the funny thing is, sir, I sometimes let that question be answered for reasons that are completely different, I believe, than why you want them in. I am not going to explain that
You
because I don't
can't. You
have
can't
to
say
explain that.
what's my reason for asking it.
Well, I believe you've made it very clear, sir. So here's the bottom
I
line.
don't.
One of my roles is to be the umpire.
Then you got to
All
be
right?
fair, Your Honor. You're a public servant.
I am fair, and I'm
No,
going
you're
to follow
not.
the
You're not
rules
being
of
fair.
evidence,
Your
sir.
Honor,
That
this is
doesn't
why I
mean
say that.
unfettered questioning
This is
of
why I say that.
witnesses that are not relevant or that call for hearsay or for a variety of other reasons that are speculative. There's a whole host of reasons in the rules of evidence, sir, that require me to make those determinations.
You're not being
I
fair.
respect
You're not
that
being
you
fair,
might
though.
not think it's always fair, but
It's
I
not.
disagree with the characterization. I think it has more to do with your lack of understanding of the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure, which you knowingly and freely and voluntarily and deliberately made a choice to represent yourself. And
And
as
you keep
I
saying
warned
that
you at
because
that
it sounds
time,
good
sir,
on the
you did
record,
that
but
at
it's
your
not.
peril.
It's not accurate. You accepted when you gave me the paperwork, Your Honor. I
I'm
gave
not-
it back to
I'm
you.
not going in. I didn't say that, sir, so we can go back and rehash all of those things.
But you know you accepted
All right.
the way that I gave you the paperwork back. So once
And I
you
made
accept
findings
that,
on the record, which I will stand by, sir. So
and I'm not,
with that,
I'm not
we're going
arguing.
to take.
I'm not arguing your findings.
I
I'm
need
not
a comfort
arguing
break.
the findings,
I'm sure
Your Honor.
you need a comfort.
More witness today?
I would like to get through one more
You got
witness
to.
today.
You got to.
Thank
You got to
We're
call
off
it
the
fair.
record, sir.
You got.